Welcome to City Council Spotlight. I'm your host, Heather Armstrong. Joining us today is the mayor, Kelly McDowell. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be back.
CNN did a piece on our town, calling us the smallest town with the most Fortune 500 companies.
Which is all true, and it was great publicity. It is a reflection of the campaign that we've had going ever since we won the Most Business-Friendly City in Los Angeles County Award back in the autumn of 2006, which has been a really useful recruiting tool. Bill Crow and his staff, the assistant city manager, have, and the consultants from outside that we use for the website and graphics, have done a bang-up job on recruiting companies. By example, the first foreign defense contractor to set up their U.S. headquarters in El Segundo is now in town, ComDev USA. Frank Gehry Architects are now in town, having moved their headquarters from the city of Los Angeles. And I think that represents a real shift in some of the focus of our industries. We've always had a creative component here because we've had Mattel. And little graphics shops and things like that have sprung up, along with some motion picture and TV production work. But this represents a real coup for the city. We're very, very proud of it. I talked about it at my State of the City address. And it fits nicely with some other developments. Otis College of Art and Design, by example, now has a studio here for their graduate students and has moved all of their administrative offices here, and is also looking at other property because they're bursting at the seams in their Los Angeles campus, and we would love to have them here. El Segundo would have a college. They're one of only 2 schools in the whole country that offer degrees in toy design, for obvious reasons.
Wow.
So business is booming despite the uncertain economy, and we're really happy.
That's actually what I was going to move to next. The state of the economy right now, how is it affecting our city?
Well, so far, we're keeping our fingers crossed. It really hasn't. The vacancy rate in the office buildings continues to drop. The industrial vacancy rate is near 0. Office vacancy rate's about 11%. And new companies keep moving into town, and ones I just mentioned, and many others as well. El Segundo residents seem to be faring okay. Downtown businesses, which would reflect that in part, are doing all right, and surprisingly, the residential real estate market's doing okay. Last I checked, compared to other cities, and foreclosures are dramatically rising all over the country. El Segundo had 9 houses in the process of foreclosure, which is too many, but still an incredibly low number. So we're doing fine at the moment. We are obviously concerned about the economy because a nationwide recession would affect El Segundo. We're in very good shape financially, though. We have reserves of over $50 million, which is about the size of our general fund budget for a year, which is a lot higher proportion than almost any other city can claim. But we are going to be very cautious in our spending, both capital and operational spending, until things settle out and we know what the future looks like better.
Since we're talking about businesses, what about Plaza El Segundo? Has it lived up to what we thought?
It has indeed. I'm glad you brought that up. We, just a month and a half or so ago, approved the final entitlements for Phase 1B, as it's glamorously called, of Plaza El Segundo, which will be the portion right at the intersection of Rosecrans and Sepulveda Boulevards. And it will be more of a courtyard atmosphere and tend to favor smaller shops, and then the existing phase of the plaza does. But the fact that the developers are pushing ahead with this in an uncertain economy is a reflection of how well the center's doing already, and we're really happy with that.
Wow. What about Douglas Street? The last time we spoke, it was just starting.
The Douglas Street gap closure project is finished, he said with a sigh of relief. $40 million and nearly 20 years from inception, it's finally complete. The first federal earmark for money for that project occurred in 1989, and it's been a struggle in a sense ever since. A lot of federal projects are hard to administer. This one was too. We did, the staff especially did, I think, a yeoman's job in terms of continuing to push it ahead. and it is now open, and you can now travel from Rosecrans all the way to Imperial on Douglas. And in a month or so, if not sooner, we will be able to travel 2 ways on Douglas Street, all the way from Imperial to and from Rosecrans, and the same on Nash for the length of it, which will be a huge improvement also. That's been an annoying one-way couplet for years.
Since you mentioned Rosecrans, I wanted to ask you about Officer Garcia and Officer O'Connor. How are they doing?
They're doing great. Ray Garcia's got a longer recovery ahead of him than does Scott O'Connor, but because he was hit by a bullet in the face and is requiring some reconstructive surgery, Officer O'Connor suffered a broken clavicle and the bullet lodged in his back, but comparatively his injury was less serious. They're both on leave, resting at home, as they should be, and are both expected to make complete and full recoveries and rejoin the force as fast as they can.
How do the residents, how are we supposed to feel? You know, we have such a low crime rate, and here something like that happens.
This was an aberrant incident. It was the first time an officer had been shot since 1978, when Officer Chris Barrett, who lives in town, was shot while on duty. The movie theaters where this occurred, for the few people out there that might not have heard about it, draw people from all over because they're very convenient. And bad people like to go to movie theaters in safe places, just like everyone else. And so it tends to draw a few bad people. This was obviously a bad guy. He's going to the movies with a gun, and had acted agitated, and then wheeled and just started shooting. It's a completely aberrant incident. Nevertheless, both the staff and the police department on their own are completely reviewing the security measures at the Pacific Theaters and throughout that center to see what we can do to beef up security. We continue to station 2 officers there every weekend night at the developer's expense in order to maintain security in the theaters. But this is a problem that's certainly not unique to us. It's a problem that movie theaters face really in all urban areas.
On a positive note, the turnout and support from towns nearby was incredible.
Oh, it was amazing. I got to the command post about an hour after the shootings had occurred. I got there about 11:15 in the evening, and already there were between 100 and 200 police vehicles at the command post, and several hundred law enforcement and associated personnel from a number of cities, and the sheriff's department. We are extremely grateful for the support. We could not have done it without them, literally, because this scene contained at the time a dead suspect, 2 severely injured officers, and approximately 1,000 panicked theater goers, plus potential additional suspects as well. And without the help of all those supportive agencies, who knows what might have happened, but both Chief Cummings and I have written to the agencies involved to thank them, and we really mean it.
Okay. Let's talk about the quest and search for a new city manager.
Jeff Stewart resigned. Jack Wade, effective May 5th, became our interim city manager, and I'm sure that most people remember that until a year and 4 months ago, Jack was our police chief and lives in town and is very acquainted with virtually everybody in City Hall. He also, during his tenure at the police department, filled in as interim head of the Parks and Recreation Department, so he's got experience outside PD. I was just visiting with him on my way over here, as a matter of fact, and he fits the job terrifically. He's a great reassurance as we search for a city manager. The council's about to pick a search firm to begin that process formally. We're going to attract, I'm sure, a great deal of interest, I hope, from a pool of highly qualified candidates. It's a process that'll take us perhaps as long as 6 months to complete, because we want to make sure we get the right person in the job.